Oh, hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Nurse Midwife Bae. My name is Aisha and I'm a certified nurse midwife. This channel is intended to be your one-stop shop for all things women's health. My goal is to help empower women to make informed decisions on their health. Today's topic is HPV. Before we get into it, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell. That way you get notifications from me every single time that I upload. And please do not forget to hit the like button. It really does tell YouTube that you're liking the content, and it helps with the algorithm so that my videos are seen more often. So with that being said, guys, if you are interested in learning more about HPV, then please keep watching. Alright guys, so if you saw my last video, I talked a lot about pap smears. And if you haven't seen it, I think it's important to pause this video, go watch that one, and come back to this one because I think it will make a lot more sense. So, what is HPV? HPV is the acronym for human papillomavirus. How do we test for HPV? So, the only way that we can test for HPV is through a pap smear. So unlike traditional STD screening, you can't do a blood test, especially on a male or a female for that matter, to see if they have HPV. So when we do a pap smear from the ages of 30 to 65, we routinely check to see if the woman has HPV, human papillomavirus, which is the virus that can lead to cervical cancer. Now, when I'm explaining pap smears to my patients, I usually tell them HPV is the name of the virus, but there are about 200 different strains of HPV. So I'll say all humans have eyes, but some humans have blue eyes, some have green eyes, some have brown eyes. And so that's how I say HPV is the name of the virus, but there are different strains. So the strains are named by the number. So 1 to 200 plus is how they're named. When we do pap smears, we are only screening for high-risk strains of HPV that can lead to cervical cancer. So again, there are so many different strains of HPV. We don't really care about the ones that can't lead to cervical cancer. When we do pap smear, we're only screening for those high-risk strains. And there are about a dozen high-risk strains that we screen for with a pap smear, but the two that are most commonly linked to cervical cancer is strain 16 and strain 45. Now, HPV can also cause genital warts, and those are typically strain 6 and strain 11. Now, there is no test to see if a person has genital warts other than when they actually have an outbreak of the warts. Then we can say that this person has HPV 6 or HPV 11. So hopefully that makes sense. There is no test to see if a person has HPV 6 or 11. The way that we know is through the presentation of genital warts. So again, when we do pap smears, we are screening for high-risk strains of HPV that can lead to cervical cancer. And I think it's worth noting as well that HPV, although it can lead to cervical cancer, not every woman who has a history of HPV on their pap smear will end up with cervical cancer, but every woman who does have cervical cancer had a high-risk strain of HPV. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'll repeat it again. If you are a woman who gets an abnormal pap smear and the result is a positive high-risk HPV, that does not automatically mean that you'll go on to have cervical cancer. But a woman who does have cervical cancer did have a strain of high-risk HPV. How does someone contract HPV? Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, HPV is passed through sexual intercourse. So that is how someone would contract HPV, by having unprotected sex with someone who is infected with the virus. I think it's also worth mentioning that most people who are sexually active come in contact with HPV at some point in their life. It's just a matter of which strains are you in contact with. Is there a cure for HPV? I get this question a lot of times. There is no cure for HPV. But what we do know, and why cervical cancer screening guidelines have changed, is that your body never wants to be sick. Your body is always going to do whatever it can do to fight off viruses and infections. So what we know is that if given time and abstinence from re-contact with high-risk strands of HPV, your body between certain ages has a really good chance of fighting off HPV. There's no medication, there's no pills, but time and letting your body work for you a lot of times can be very helpful in getting rid of the virus. Can HPV be prevented? Now, most of you may or may not be familiar with Gardasil or the HPV vaccinations. The CDC recommends that both boys and girls, so all children, be vaccinated with Gardasil HPV vaccination as early as the age of 9, but no later than 12. The goal is to get boys and girls vaccinated before they ever become sexually active, so they cannot be carriers of the virus and they can't be passers of the virus. So I'll say that again. The goal is to get boys and girls vaccinated as early as 9 years old, but no later than 12, against HPV with a 2-shot series. So you would get 1 injection and then 2 months later you would get the second injection. So there are a lot of people, a lot of my patients don't know if they've been vaccinated or have not been vaccinated. And so the CDC still recommends that if you have not been vaccinated and you're sexually active, up until the age of 21 for men, you should still receive the Gardasil vaccinations, the HPV vaccinations, or up until the age of 26 for women to receive the vaccinations and still have a pretty high efficacy. Now, as recently as 2019, insurances started covering adults to get vaccinated up to the age of 45. Now, there's a huge difference between being vaccinated at the age of 9 before you're ever sexually active and being vaccinated at the age of 45 after you've been sexually active for, decades. So the goal, the idea behind extending the age is that if you were not properly vaccinated, maybe you only received 1 of the 3 doses or 2 of the 3 doses, then getting that 3rd dose may help or it may not, but it wouldn't hurt. So that's how that works. The further you are out from the age of 9 to 12 and you've been sexually active, the less efficacious the vaccination. It doesn't hurt, but certainly it's not guaranteed that you would have the same efficacy as getting it as a child. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that cleared up any questions or concerns that you had around HPV and being vaccinated. Just know that a pap smear and HPV go hand in hand. I have a lot of patients who will come for their pap smears, but they'll forego getting the HPV vaccinations because it's a vaccination and what they think they know about vaccinations and what they can lead to. So I always say, if you're going to get a pap smear, you should be vaccinated against HPV as well. So that is everything I want to talk about with HPV. Hopefully I was able to shed some more light on the topic for you. If you had any questions, hopefully this video was able to clear them up for you. If you still have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section below. I will definitely be down there answering the questions that you guys have. So yeah, that's everything I want to say in this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up because it really, really does help my channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you share this video with somebody you know. The more this video gets out there, the more people know, the more people are informed on their health, and they can make better decisions. So that's everything I want to say, guys. Until my next video, I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.